Hi, my name is Anastasia Volk Moroni, and I'm going to share with you some methods for classroom management in the middle school art classroom. As I said, I'm Anastasia Volk Moroni, and I teach middle school just north of Indianapolis. And I have a Bachelor of Arts in Fine Art and a Master of Science in Art Education, and have been teaching since 1999. I've taught in K through 12 schools, both public and private, and I'm currently serving on a district level committee creating curriculum and writing curriculum based on national and state standards for our district. I also serve on a sister city advisory council for the city of Carmel and our partnership with our new sister city of Cortona, Italy. So that's pretty exciting right now. So my plan is made up of six different components, and I'll briefly go over each one of them with you today. And here they are. The first is helper jobs, then I'll go into routines, rules, consequences, and how I manage special tools in my classroom, and a little bit about our material centers, especially as I'm transitioning into more of a tab environment or teaching for artistic behavior environment. To begin with, we have helper jobs, and my helper jobs really consist of four separate jobs, and they rotate on a weekly basis. Students know which job they're assigned to because they have a round dot on their desk with with a color rather, and it's either blue, green, yellow, or red. And that allows me, if I wish to, at some time in the future, I could always change the names of my jobs or the job descriptions or titles. But right now, I have quality controllers, materials masters, noise monitors, and directions experts. And so, what those jobs do, or what those students do in those jobs, and actually, these titles really come from Alicia Eggers Kashmarek, who writes for the Art of Education University. And so, it sort of looks like this. My quality controllers help me at the end of class in terms of making sure that everything is cleaned up and as tidy and as neat as it needs to be for the next class to come in. Materials masters help me pass out things, pick up things, whether it's a tool or supply, it doesn't matter. Noise monitors are responsible for helping keep their fellow classmates' noise levels at an acceptable level. And directions experts, I sort of take the rule of ask three before me. And so I encourage students to ask three other students before you come to me. And so if you ask your directions expert, who was supposed to be paying close attention to my directions, whether it was a demonstration or showing students where new materials were, that sort of thing, that sort of frees me up for students who are need my help immediately, or for other things that I need to be doing in the classroom. Moving into our routines, students know that when they arrive to my classroom, they will see me outside the door. I will greet them, and they are asked to hold all of their questions. If they do have a question for me, once they arrive or come inside the classroom, they're going to take their art ID that has a photograph of them. It has their name and their class number on it. And all of those were assigned on the first day of school when these IDs were made, and they got laminated, and they are housed in these little cups right inside my door. If they have a question, they find their ID and they put it in this little bin, which is also right by the door. That way I know I can answer their question one on one if need be, once I'm finished with my hallway duty, or I can address the question to the entire class if it's something appropriate for the entire class. Once they do that, they'll come over to the attendance board and they'll take their magnetic ID number, their token, and they will place it in their assigned seat on the board so that I know at a glance who is here and I can very quickly take attendance. Once those things are done, they move to their table, they move to their desk, they take a look at the whiteboard, and on the whiteboard, I have the Do Now, which is posted, and the Do Now is in our LMS as well. It's the learning management system, which is currently Canvas, and so they know right away to get started on that Do Now. And they are supposed to be silently working on those while I take attendance and check messages and get the class started. During class time, when it's time to transition, I will signal to students that I need their attention by ringing my doorbell, and then I will raise my hand in true Harry Wong fashion with my finger in the air, which signifies to students they need to stop what they're doing and give me their attention. I'll explain what is about to happen, and then I will use the words in a moment followed by whatever we're going to do. I'll signify that to begin by saying smooth, and then I'll watch to make sure that students are actually completing the work correctly. And of course, making sure that students are returning to their seats as soon as their work is completed. So as we move on to our the next part of routines, when students need to use the restroom or visit the nurse, that sort of thing, they can indicate their desire to me to do so by simply moving their attendance token to the appropriate spot on the attendance board, and they can take their art ID out of the classroom bin and bringing it to me. Once they bring it to me, I will simply write the time that they leave, and when they come back, I'll write the time that they re-enter the classroom. That way I have kind of a list, notations, if you will, of when students are coming and going, and I'll know at a glance if I have forgotten, I'll know my repeat offenders. And so when they're finished, their art ID gets returned back to that bin. And so when it is time for class to be finished, I will again ring the doorbell, raise my hand and my finger, and I'll work must stop. And it will signal that it's time to begin cleaning up. I do have a poster in my classroom that details the steps we take to clean in case anybody has forgotten. But basically, this is when all the helpers begin their jobs again, and that's the quality controllers and the materials masters, and everyone's working together to make sure that things get done swiftly so we can move on to the next class. And so, once everybody is finished all of their cleanup tasks, they need to return to their seat, and I'll do a quick once over in the classroom and I'll give the all clear. If everything looks good, then class will be dismissed at the bell. If things aren't done, I call people back, and groups are responsible for making sure that areas are ready to go for the next class. On to our rules. And so I've got four basic rules. And Rebecca Alber in Edutopia magazine will write about how the importance of having um, concise, simple, easy rules to follow. Because of, going into too much detail becomes too much for students to grasp, too much to wrap our heads around. And so keep it simple, use the KISS strategy here. And so I've got four: listen and follow directions, raise your hand, stay in your seat, respect your classmates and your teacher. The raise your hand and the stay in the seat rules, it becomes difficult in a tab environment. So teaching for artistic behavior, in that environment, I really want to empower students to be able to get up and to move around uh, to get what they need. But we try and do that um, before all of the actual studio class work time begins. Whoops. And so that we're not having a lot of students get out of their seats. And so I love that Cassidy Rankin, in one of her articles, she writes for the Art of Education University, and she uses um, this visual, and it's a stop sign on a piece of paper, and it says, "You need to raise your hand to ask for permission before leaving your seat." And so, for some students who need that extra cue, you can put that directly on their table if they need that added incentive to remember, we're not going to be up walking around the class all class period long. Get what you need at the beginning of class, and we're going to stay in our seat. Students know that if they choose to break a rule, there are three consequences. And the first is a warning. The second is that I will ask them to spend a little bit of time in the island at a chill out chair. And the third is a letter home. You can see here an image of my island area. And it is just a area off to the side of my room where students can actually choose to go if they wish. It is a quiet, more focused work area with a nice soft blanket, or excuse me, a nice soft carpet. There are softer seats and that sort of thing. And so students have a much quieter area or a good area to focus here. All right, so on to special tools management. And so this is important in my room for things like needle tools and X-Acto knives. I also use this system for when we did paper quilling. So I have paper quilling tools that are I don't want getting lost. And so students can give me their art ID. And like I said, those were made early in the school year. The students put their picture. You can kind of see a photograph. This is a numbered case, and the students will give me their art ID. I put it in this spot with their number on it, and then they get a tool. And if they have to leave for whatever reason, don't forget they will have already moved their magnet ID, their magnet attendance token to the right spot on the attendance board, and they were supposed to bring me their art ID, but since I already have their art ID, I will continue to hold on to it. And in this pocket, they're going to give me the tool that they had at their desk, their special tool, and it goes in this pocket so that it is safe and sound and doesn't just walk away while they're in the bathroom or wherever. And so when they give me their tool back, when they're finished using it, they'll get their art ID back and they put it back by their door. Lastly, we have our material centers. And as I continue transitioning to a tab environment, the teaching for artistic behavior, which empowers students and creates more of a studio environment, I want students to understand and know without having to ask where they can find their supplies. And so everything is clearly labeled in the classroom. And as I introduce new materials or mediums, students are made aware of where they can find those without having to go to me to ask if they can use them or not. They just know that certain centers or certain tools are available to them and certain materials may not be based on how they are marked in the classroom. But everything is very easily findable for the students. So here we are. We've got our 6 steps: helper jobs, routines, rules, consequences, special tools management, and material center. In totality, they make up a very robust classroom management plan that should help you have a more peaceful, well behaved classroom environment, and will help you recapture that learning environment that everybody really should be able to thrive on. Good luck with the plan. If you have any questions, please message me.